to Vibez, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
That's right, which is mainly metal music and live music. I'm one of your hosts, Brian, joined with your other host,
Karen.
Karen, what's this episode all about?
We're going to talk about Godsmack with the Vibez tour.
Yeah, this was on 4/20. We went to go see this in Gary, Indiana at the Hard Rock casino they have down there. Ticket prices were $89.50, and there were fees of $19.88 per ticket. And then who do we have opening for Godsmack?
Bastien de Cruz from Denmark.
Yeah, just the one guy opening for them. Yeah, as I said, this was on 4/20. We did an encore episode that came out on 4/20 where we talked about sort of our way of buying tickets and why we buy tickets the way we do, which was all sort of spun on by there being like 5 or 4 shows on 4/20 in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
And this just happened to be the one we went to because it was the first one that was announced, more or less.
Yeah, this was announced in November, and the other shows were November 2023.
Yep.
And the other ones were announced, like, I don't know, later.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And I don't know if any of those shows sold out on 4/20. I don't know if this one did or not. It looked like there were open seats, but...
I mean, there might have been open seats, but when I looked on the app, it was verified resale for everything.
Oh, was it?
So,
okay.
for just people not able to show up.
Not selling them or going to. That makes sense. Okay.
Maybe they chose to go to one of the other shows.
Maybe they chose to go one of the other shows, right. But this is the one we picked. Watch that episode if you're curious about that at all. But, yeah, we picked this one out of those 4 or 5 or whatever number. I can't remember how many there were. There were a lot that day that we wanted to go to and,
I think
and check
5
out.
bands, but 4 shows.
Oh, 5 bands across the 4. Gotcha. Yeah. But, yeah, this was down at the Hard Rock. Been there a few times now. This was, I think, our 3rd show down there at this particular casino.
I think so.
We've been here 3 times, I think, and then once at the other casino.
Hammond, yeah.
I can't remember the name of that casino.
Horseshoe.
Is that Horseshoe? Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, the 2 venues are essentially the exact same from like a venue perspective.
Like interior?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
The exterior is a little different, but the interior is basically the exact same. It's a square with these pull-out sort of bleacher seating type things. And honestly, I like the other casino better than the Hard Rock. The Hard Rock, I don't like the food options. There's something about the Hard Rock I just don't like.
I don't care for it either, but that's where all the bands go, so.
It is, yeah. It's kind of, we'll keep going if they're going to keep going there, basically, right? But of the 2, we would prefer the other one. But I get it, Hard Rock, you were going to have harder rock music than
sure
that they're going to want to go to or something. I don't know.
I think it's the owner or the producer or the promoter taking you to Hard Rock over.
No, I think so. And I think it's like,
Hammond.
It's Hard Rock. People like that better if they're going to see rock and roll.
Comedians
they do
on the thing and like country music and Latin music.
Yeah.
So
there's all sorts of music that go there. There's
so
like a show every weekend or some shit going on.
Yeah,
or
probably.
like every night. I don't know.
Probably. I'm just meaning, I don't think the rock has anything to do with it.
Sure. Any case, though, of the few times we've been to these 2 venues and basically in exactly the same, this was the first one where we had sort of a seat, like an assigned seat. And they brought out those bleachers to sit down. And I kind of remember, and like the floor was seating as well. They brought out like folding chairs and shit.
Yeah.
And we were in the little bleacher section there on stage left. And I was kind of shocked by the quality of the seats, honestly. I did not expect like these cushioned, comfy seats.
Yeah, I expected it to be like high school bleachers to pull out, and then you just like kind of sit on like a hard surface, like all in one, and kind of like Wrigley Field bleachers where it's like they have numbers, but you really sit wherever sort of thing.
Or if they are going to be the seats, it's going to be plastic,
or plastic. Yeah. I guess in my mind they were going to be like high school bleachers.
And I guess I kind of thought that too, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, they were like fold down, comfy-ish seats.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily like the normal room you'd have side to side, but the depth between where your feet can go was also very long as well. I was really kind of shocked by that.
That was kind of nice because sometimes when you go to theaters that have seats, it like your knees touch the front or like nobody can walk through, and these there's enough room to turn sideways and walk by.
Yeah, you don't have to stand up and like obstruct the view from somebody behind you. I don't know. I was taken aback by
me too.
The quality of seats that were there. I was not expecting that.
That was one thing that interested me in this show was how the seats would be. So,
and that's another thing. We didn't really talk about the show yet, but when we saw the advertisement for this, and it's called the Vibes Tour, and like this is the shirt I'm wearing is sort of the advertisement they had for it. But I got the sense it was going to be an acoustic only set. It's sort of how I expected it.
Yeah, and I guess I went off of that because that's what you said.
Yeah.
So I just assumed that it was acoustic.
I guess that's what I was doing too, just assuming based on like this, because it says it's all about the emotion, the feel. It's going to be a very intimate evening with Godsmack. And to me, an intimate evening with a metal band or a hard rock band is acoustic.
Okay.
Or a small venue, but with like a slower acoustic-y type set. I thought about the acoustic set we saw with Wage War. Like that was a larger venue, but I would have classified that as like an intimate evening because of the stage setup and the acoustic aspect of it. So that's sort of why I saw the promotion for this. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a wholly acoustic set and whatnot. But I think even a few days before going, you're like, are you sure it's only acoustic? And I was like, I don't honestly know, but I think so.
Yeah, I just saw some stuff on Instagram and it didn't look acoustic. So.
Yeah, there were some acoustic elements to it. They did play a little bit acoustically, but it wasn't completely acoustic like I thought it was going into it. However, Bastien de Cruz, hopefully I'm saying that right. Bastien de Cruz, his set was completely acoustic.
Yeah.
It was just him up there and he played guitar.
And sang.
And he sung. Sorry, yes.
Yes.
Guitar and sung. Yeah, both aspects there. Why don't you read off the set list we have for him?
He started with, I used to call, Broken, Tell Me Who I Am, Mom, Hero, Walking Away, 21, Going Out, and he ended with Traveling.
What was your vibe, sticking with the name of the tour? Did we just say that this was the Vibes Tour?
Yeah.
What was your vibe of Bastien after his performance?
It was okay. Not my music.
Yeah, it wasn't really rock. It wasn't really country. It was kind of indie-ish.
Yeah, I would say indie.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know what the genre is, but if you want to compare it to something, it would be like
that's what I was trying to do, is like think of where I'd classify this and what I compare it to.
Yeah.
When he was performing, I got the sense, or in my head, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm at a bar and there's somebody in the corner playing. Like that's the kind of music I'm hearing and the sort of emotions I'm feeling right now, especially with the wave of fucking chatter.
Oh yeah,
the entire goddamn time.
Yeah, everybody was talking. It was almost like you were at a bar. It reminded me a lot of when we were in Dublin and we just happened the first night that you got there and like that guy was just playing in the hotel bar.
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, nothing bad or good about it. It definitely, like, the chatter didn't piss me off that much right now, mainly because I wasn't really into the music, but it also fit that feel of what I was sort of feeling anyway, of like, oh, I'm in a bar listening to music and I'm trying to experience it. The people chattering kind of fucking suck, but at the same time, it's cool. But they would cheer and everything, but in between when he's playing, it was still chatter. It was, I don't know, chatter's fucking bullshit, especially at a live show.
Yeah.
But if you're at a bar, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a little different when you're at a bar versus a live performance like this where it's ticketed and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I've seen performer, or like, say, at the Aragon, I've seen videos of, like, performers who are just one person with a guitar, like, acoustic guitar like this. And in my mind, I'm like, that seems boring.
Yeah.
Like, how could... But people are into this. I get the point of having him there with the Vibes Tour because it is like you can feel the emotion of the music that he's performing, and he even explained some of the songs of like why he wrote Mom and why he wrote Hero and stuff like that. But it's just not my thing.
Same. Yep.
However, I mean I didn't sit there and chatter and distract other people around me because
right
if somebody around me is listening to it, I don't want to be that distraction.
And if this is their thing, then you don't want to distract them from that and let them have a good time, basically. Like, if you're not having a good time, cool, shut your fucking mouth. Somebody else there is having a great time.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that with hecklers too, right? Where it's like, fuck you, you get off the stage, you suck. And it's like, cool, you don't like it. There's 4 people over to our left who are fucking going ape shit, loving this. Like, shut the fuck up and let them have their fun. Like, you're ruining it for them. It's not your thing. Cool. Go get a fucking beer or bathroom or I don't care. Just shut the fuck up. For hecklers. Also, shut the fuck up for just chattering anyway. But there was one thing he did say during his performance that was sort of, I was like, oh shit, all right. I didn't think that's how it worked, but it actually makes sense that that's how it worked. And it's even on your head because I think you know what it is.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain it?
So he had mentioned that he tried to put out a record either earlier this year or like last year. I think it was earlier this year.
Yeah, he was like trying to get signed.
So he was trying to get a record deal or like a record promoter to help him put out a record or whatever. And he went to somebody and I think it was like going well. And they were like, oh no, we're not going to do this because you don't have enough Instagram followers.
Yeah, I don't remember.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, which is bullshit.
Yeah, again, like that's sort of how it makes sense. Like, oh, we're going to sign you with the intent of selling your music, and the more followers you have, that's more audience that we're going to hit, more potential revenue that we can bring in. So we have a certain threshold that if you're under this threshold, we don't view making a profit likely on you until you hit this threshold. I think that's kind of shitty. It's the way the music industry works. Like, that's the whole point, is you're trying to make money and shit, right? But it does have a few albums. All of these songs, I think, except for one possibly, are on our playlist now that I threw on there. So he's doing it independently for sure. But yeah, it's that getting over the hurdle to sell a record.
At least he has stuff recorded, but that doesn't mean he has like a record out.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
oh, okay.
Well, they are on records.
Like you can buy a physical piece of it, or is it just on Spotify?
It might just be on Spotify, but they're all sort of in an album format of like, here's my album or here's my EP, but in a digital format. Okay. Not a physical format.
Okay. And maybe that's what he ended up doing, but the way I understood it is he wanted to have like physical music to be able to sell when he said it on the stage.
Gotcha. I took it differently. I thought he was saying that he tried to get a record label to like sign him to a record label.
Oh, possibly.
And that's where it was, oh, you don't have enough followers, so we're not going to sign you to our label.
Okay, possibly. But it made me think back to 2022 when we saw some shows in Denver. And we saw 0936 and Jairus Johnson, if I remember right. It was with Korn and with 3 Days Grace were the two shows that we went to.
Yep.
And they were the first opener for both. And both of them were like, follow me on Instagram. Like, you know, if you, whatever. It was like that whole Instagram thing. And like that just pissed me off. And I was just like, that is so cheesy.
Yeah.
However, after he said he tried to get a record label to sign him or whatever the case is, we might have had a different understanding of what it was. Yeah. He literally said it for 5 seconds or whatever.
Yep.
But it, you know, with that being said, maybe they were trying to get a record deal as well, and they didn't have enough followers. So, but they were just doing it in a different way. Where in his way, I feel like it was like, hey, I went to this record label to try to get signed, and they said, sorry, we're not going to sign you because you don't have enough followers. So he was just like, I just have one ask. Can you follow me on Instagram?
Yeah, and you went for your personal account and our Metal Vice account went and followed on both of those.
So I would say, if you're listening to this, follow Bastain de Cruz on Instagram. You can hide his posts if you don't want to see them, but just give him a follow.
Yeah. But that's interesting you brought up the 0936 or whoever they were.
Jairus Johnson.
I think it was Jairus Johnson. I can't remember exactly.
I think they both said it, but Jairus Johnson was really big into it. Like
one of them even put like a QR code, I think, on the back screen.
So.
I just can't remember who it was.
That was Jairus Johnson because it was at the Korn concert.
Okay.
And at 3 Days Grace, they just said.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember, honestly.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And it was just weird that it was like 2 in a row, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, obviously we're old and we're not into all that, but.
Well, one of them I can't remember. What I was trying to say is one of them is I think they like blew up on TikTok or something, and that's sort of.
Oh, possibly.
I think that's how you found them, or they blew up on Instagram or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know either of them until I.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You looked it up after the shows, and you're like, oh, they are.
Oh, like a social media.
Yeah, they came from social media somewhere, and that's where they've got their start.
It could have been, yeah.
And there's been a few of those, like Peyton Parrish, I think, was one of them who's sort of in that boat, right? The Mia and Allie ladies.
Yeah, they were
are sort of that way where they're doing like TikTok and Instagram Shorts and all of that kind of shit, and just putting all that out there. And that's honestly how we found out about them, and I think that's how you found out about Peyton Parrish.
Oh yeah, from Instagram. Yeah.
So it's just a new way of doing things for sure. But yeah, tying it to how many people actually like you and follow you determines if we get you a record label. Not do we like your music, do we think your music fits with us?
Right.
Simply, can we market and sell you based on your followers?
Yeah.
Is very interesting. It makes sense that I think about it. I just never thought about it in those terms.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But as you said, yeah, it was just like a 5 second. I tried to do XYZ, didn't work because I don't have followers, so please follow me. And then
And then he never said it again. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a begging thing, but so.
But yeah, now we're talking about it for like not 20 minutes, like 5 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, but go follow
Yeah.
Bastain de Cruz.
Follow all of the bands you like. Oh, I got on a fucking tangent talking about the shows in Denver. But another person did something very similar to that. Another band did something very similar to that. A Killer's Confession. We were at their show and they said, like us and follow us on Instagram or Spotify. Come back to the merch table and show us, and we'll give you like a free little treat or something.
We've been to quite a few shows where one of the openers will say that, like, and then it's like a free sticker or a wristband or something. But yeah, I can't think of everybody, but Killer's Confession, I do remember that.
That's the only other one I remember. That like jumps to my mind.
Yeah,
I'm,
it's
like
happened
again,
a few
it's probably
times.
happened a lot. Yeah, it's just
more the smaller venues. Like we were at a show in Reggie's once, and somebody said it.
Oh, really?
It was for a sticker, but I can't remember what. I think it was the Chemist show. So was it Mother of Graves?
it may have been, maybe not.
I can't remember. I don't remember, and
Yeah.
I shouldn't make anything, but I do know that they say like, hey, if you show us that you're following us, then
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of bullshit to do at a concert. Not bullshit to do at a concert, but I mean, it's easy for somebody to follow you, go get free shit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's
and then
bullshit
unfollow
for
you.
like the fan to like go up and
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
following you, give me something free,
Yeah.
and then unfollow
And then
right away.
unfollow as soon as they walk away.
I mean, but the point is, I guess we're going on so many different tangents here, but yeah, it's like, who's gonna do that? They're gonna follow and completely forget to unfollow for a while.
More likely.
Anyway, just a new era that we're living in that I've never, again, I've said it like 4 times already, that I've never thought about until now, and it makes sense, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Same thing with like YouTube. You find the people who are like and comment, and like,
Please like and comment on our videos.
yeah, it's cool, but I hate when fuckers do that, so that's why we don't do it.
We don't do it, but we maybe should.
In any case, not necessarily our cup of tea with this music, but it was a good performance. It was a fun performance for sure. Fit the vibe of the show for sure. Got you in the vibes.
It set the vibe for what we thought the Godsmack performance was going to be.
Yes, it did. And that's a good segue into the Godsmack performance. Why don't you lead off with the set list?
Sure. So they started with Time, Love, Hate, Sex, Pain, Voodoo, Turning to Stone, Spiral, One Rainy Day, No Quarter, Nothing Else Matters, Serenity, Touche, Truth, Growing Old, Lighting Up the Sky, Under Your Scars, Bulletproof, and they ended with Long Train Running. And Under Your Scars, Bulletproof, and Long Train Running were kind of like their encore.
Yeah. Before they even started, it was weird because they get the stage set up. I don't think there was a curtain. No, there wasn't.
Not a curtain from what we could see, but where Bastain de Cruz was playing, there was a curtain up. So everything was already set up.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, it's just one person with a mic and a guitar. So it was in front of the curtain. So he had just the front part of the stage. And then everything was set up on the stage in the back.
Okay, so I wasn't there for that because I was getting like food and shit out in the crowd, not the crowd, but out
In the
getting merch and
concessions,
shit while that was going on. By the time I came out, the stage was already set up.
Yeah.
Candles all over the place lit. I couldn't tell if they were real. I don't think they were real. Probably just probably not. But in any case, and then they start playing like backing music with the lights still on, and I was like, oh, this is a weird sort of way to enter and do things. I can't remember at what point it dimmed down, but eventually it did and just sort of flowed. But I was trying to watch specifically. I'm like, all right, when's the lights going to turn off? But the intro track has already started to like get the band ready, basically, right? I can't remember what the song was that opened. I don't know if it was like A Long Way to the Top or if it was something more mellow or something.
No, it's definitely not A Long Way to the Top.
But then it started with Time, going right into the Pink Floyd cover, Time, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really cool," because they had this back screen that had some like imagery going on and whatnot, and I was like, "Oh, is this going to be like a an intro into the performance where it's going to go through like slideshow and the history of Godsmack and where we came from and how we, went from starting to where we are now type thing. And there's been other bands that have done that for special shows as well. Like, I think Metallica did it for the 40th. I think Anthrax did it for their 40th as well. Something very similar, and other people saying like, hey, Anthrax is awesome. They did blah, 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 So we've seen stuff like that before, and that's sort of what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the band to come out and cover Time.
Oh.
And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. And right away, my suspicions of it being an acoustic set were blown out.
Yeah.
But I was super happy and excited that they came out to Time, and not only came out to it, but started to play it as well. And they have a live album. I think they've done this tour before in like the mid-2000s or something.
Sully said 2004.
That's what I thought,
But that was all acoustic.
Yep,
and this is not all
It's a mix,
acoustic.
yeah. But I think they may have played Time during that, and same with Nothing Else Matters. So we were able to add those two covers onto our playlist from Godsmack. No Quarter, they don't have it recorded or presented on like an album yet. They might if they ever do this one, like a compilation of the live recordings and whatnot. I don't see why they wouldn't. But so we put the original Led Zeppelin on there because I love fucking Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
I
do
remember
that.
you came out and asked like, "What's the rule? Like, what should we do?" And I'm like, "You're making up the rules. So if you want to put it on there, you can put it on there."
Yeah, our rules for the Spotify playlist. We've talked about this before, but it's basically every time we go to see a live show, we take that set list and put it on in the order we see it. If we see a band multiple times, we only put net new songs on the playlist, and we only do it for bands that we liked. Now that we liked aspect has sort of eroded. Now it's basically almost everything we put on there.
Last year I'm sure there was a handful of bands we didn't put on there, but most set lists that we have access to, we put on there.
If we go see a show alone without the other one, we don't put it on there.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Which we might have to change and think about. Like it's another thing. Like these rules are constantly changing, and I'm pissed at myself because I'm all about like, no, here's the set rules. We're gonna do it this way, and I'm always like fucking changing them. Same with the long train running, the Doobie Brothers cover. They don't have that, but I don't think I added that track to the set list. Let me double check. Actually, I may have. I did add that on there, so I lied. I could have done without that one, but whatever. I threw it on there because I did for No Quarter, so I figured might as well be consistent. Yeah, but other than that, like pretty simple stage, and Sully even talked about that. Like we did this in 2004, like you said, it was all acoustic there. We don't want to do all acoustic again. That's not really who we are. It doesn't really fit our vibe.
They play hard rock and roll.
Yeah. But we're gonna
I had to laugh.
It is hard rock.
It is hard rock, yes.
It's not
just how he said it was like I think he said like we play hard and heavy songs, and I'm like, hard and heavy? What are you talking about? But compared to other things, it is hard and heavy.
Yes, and I was thinking about this. We've referred to 3 Days Grace,
Pop Evil,
Shinedown, Breaking Benjamin, all as sort of that radio metal, radio rock, because they're sort of like that.
Radio rock, I would say more than.
There is some metal elements to it for sure. And like if you look at their genre classification, they've fallen like 12 different genres, and one of them is some sort of subset of metal. Whatever. This is metal music that you hear, Godsmack it is, metal music that you hear on the radio quite regularly. More than you do Slipknot, more than you do Disturbed. I think they fall into maybe the new metal because essentially anything that came out around 1999 to 2000 is new metal.
I don't think anything. I remember looking it up when we were at the show. I mean, what you just looked up has new metal, but
everything in that like time frame was new metal.
And I think it's probably just like the riffs and stuff like that, like how it comes off. But I don't know. I consider it more rocky than metal, but
I guess what I was trying to say is this is more metal than those radio metal bands that we were talking about in my mind. And this is also very radio friendly. This and Mudvayne are like the biggest metal bands outside of some Metallica
Oh, like that's on the radio?
Yeah, that you get on the radio. You don't get a lot of Slipknot. You don't get a lot of Disturbed. You don't get a lot of
Disturbed is like
Lamb of God.
The main song or Down with the Sickness.
Yeah.
Like what I mean by main song is like what was the newest album that they had out and what's their main song on there? Like Hey You or Bad Man now is on a lot, but
their new shit's Disturbed. That is, their new shit is a lot more radio friendly.
Oh,
They've gone from like super heavy in my mind with The Sickness all the way down into like that 3 Days Grace radio metal sort of genre.
Like with Evolution and everything.
They're very close to that area in my mind, in my classification.
I would agree with you there. Yeah.
But Godsmack, again, they're a little heavier, especially than Disturbed's newer stuff, and yet they get a lot of radio play, and it's kind of cool. It's cool to see something like this on the radio. I think there needs to be a lot more of it on the radio, a lot more different bands on the radio. Like I said, Lamb of God, I don't think I've ever heard a fucking Lamb of God song on traditional radio.
Not Iowa. We only really listen to radio in
That's
Iowa,
when I say like traditional, yeah.
Iowa radio is traditional radio?
I think it fits the mold very well for traditional radio, yes. What you hear in Iowa is probably what you're going to hear on the radio almost fucking everywhere.
Maybe. I don't know.
Considering there's like 2 radio chains, I think, that like run it all. The Hog up in Milwaukee is owned by the same people who own...
Yeah, they own Laser.
Yeah. Anywho, we're getting way off fucking track yet again. I don't know what I was going with that whole aspect.
I have no clue either. We went into genreization. We thought that it was acoustic, but it ended up not being acoustic. There was the rock elements as well. I can't remember when they sat down with the guitar. Was it after No Quarter? Is that when he went into his whole...
I think so. So that's when he went into the whole thing about Nothing Else Matters.
And like you can feel the music, and it's just a whole bunch of... music is just sound waves, and like depending on how he plays his guitar, it's either sad or happy.
Yep.
And then he was like, but what if somebody decided that the happy sound is the sad sound, and like vice versa or whatever. But whenever music came out, like this is what was decided, is like this is happy and this is sad sort of thing, or like the chords.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think there's probably like people who hear this sound wave, and it's not just like it was decided by an industry. It was like,
oh no,
that's how we as people actually interpret it.
But I think it's like, especially with the lyrics that go with that sound, probably interprets it a little bit more.
Maybe.
Or, I mean, think of like music, like Beethoven. There's songs that have like the very drawn out, like lower volume sound and everything. It's like, that's more emotional than, because, other.
Yeah, and that's how the music is. That's how you feel the music and whatever.
Yeah, but who decided that?
Nobody decides it. It's just how you feel and what you do.
Okay.
Like, it's not a decision. I think it's... I don't personally think it's a decision. I think it's how you hear the music and your brain interprets it.
Possibly.
Is how you feel.
Yeah.
And that is going to be very similar for a lot of people. Not saying it's the same for every single person, but I would say the vast majority of people, when they hear this particular chord or this note strung together in this way, they're going to have very similar or identical emotions, would be my guess.
I think a lot of it, for me personally, that's cool. Thanks for your opinion. For me personally, I think a lot of religious ceremonies use more drawn out, quiet sounds so I think that's where the emotion comes in. I think media or movies, entertainment, use more, like you not even look at the screen, you could tell, is it a sad part of the movie? Is it a happy part of the movie? Or is it a scary part of the movie, just from the sounds happening?
Right.
So that could interpret it. Using sounds, you were saying like in some of your books that you're reading, they use sounds in there. Like that could interpret it. Like if they put sad sounds in, like do you think the book's more sad than happy sounds?
When you're saying sounds, like in between chat, like just sound effects and whatnot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, or in movies, or music that's put into movies or whatever. I don't know. Like, I got what he was saying. How it's just like, it's the same chord, but depending on how you play it, it's either happy or sad.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool because then he does like give you an example, and he's like, well, what if you change it this way? What if you do it this way? And then he plays the chord, and it's like, oh, this is the intro to Nothing Else Matters. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then they went into an acoustic version of Nothing Else Matters, which was fucking awesome. It hit hard for me because of that intro going into it. And it was
his speech beforehand.
Yeah, like that song being played with that speech.
Yeah. because
had more of an impact than if it was something else.
Also, part of that speech was that they wanted to play music that they grew up listening to as well, and what influenced them, and you could always, like, when you hear a song, you can always go back to where you first heard it and all these things. And I would say Nothing Else Matters was a little emotional for me too, because I just thought back to S&M 2 and being able to see it there, and it's, you know, it does take you back to a place of, when did you see this performed, or when did you hear this for the first time, or what was happening when this was the song happened.
And that was like, that's the song that got me into Metallica and into metal for sure. So that is the root for me, that like, holy shit, lit the spark to dive into this. I've been exposed to hard rock and metal before, even Metallica before I heard Nothing Else Matters, but nothing like really even stuck. Like Chop Suey was maybe the closest, where I heard that all the time before this. And Linkin Park too, like the Hybrid Theory.
Yeah, Linkin Park, yeah.
Like I listened to that nonstop, but I never went past those songs, those initial songs, right? Nothing Else Matters, like, holy shit, I need to know more about Metallica. And then not only do I need to know more about Metallica, it's other bands that sound like Metallica. So then you get Megadeth, you get Slayer. Then it's like, all right, who sounds like these bands? And you go down the rabbit hole. And like I said, been exposed prior to Metallica with metal and whatnot. Nothing really got me that energized like Nothing Else Matters essentially did. So yeah, definitely holds a special place in my heart. And like you're saying, we want to play the things that influenced us, and you can always remember where you were when you heard this song for the first time. So yeah, that speech with this song like hit perfectly for me.
Emotions going.
Got the vibes going for sure.
The vibes.
That's the tour. It's vibes.
I know,
it's not emotions. It's vibes with a Z.
I know.
Continuing down the set list, I guess other standouts for me. Voodoo, I guess that's at the top.
Yeah.
I always laugh and smile when I see that song, and think about my mom when I see that song, because that's her metal song, I want to say. Like, we would do music appreciation night, and she would always mainly dominate music appreciation. Like, you need to listen to this old stuff.
So music appreciation, how I understand it coming into your family, is somebody plays a song, you don't complain, you don't say change it, you listen to it and you appreciate it. And then another person plays a song and you don't, same thing. And then the next person and the next person, the next person. Generally it ends up being, she picks a song, we pick half a song, she picks a song, she picks a song.
She's very energized and wanting to play a song. And I get that. I do the same thing when we do like...
Oh, like the YouTube? I was going to say the same thing. Like,
I do the exact same thing.
Whoever is dominating the night kind of chooses where we go with YouTube.
Yeah. And
which is why we have an alarm set on our watches to go to bed at 10:30, because otherwise we could stay up watching YouTube
music videos
until like 1 a.m.
But it's the same thing where it's like one of us just gets so energized, like, fuck this song, on to the next song.
Like, oh, this song reminds me of this song, or
and we don't go all the way through. But we will get to a point where she's like, all right, play that one song I like. And we know what song it is, but it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What song? You know, that one song. It's like, it's not very specific or, explanatory of what the song is. Can you describe the song at all? Do you know who it's by? Do you know the name? No, if I knew the name, I'd tell you play that name. But you know what song it is? Like, nope, I don't know. And this will go on for like 5 minutes or so. And then I know what song it is. It's Voodoo. And like, she loves that song from Godsmack. And that's when we're doing this music appreciation. It's like, oh, don't play that metal. That's not good metal. Play that one song I like. And so, I don't know. When that came on, it did make me smile and think of her. So every time I hear that, I do. And think of those interactions and whatnot. Yeah. Good vibes there as well.
I was going to say, it's bringing up all the emotions during this. So with the set list, I was surprised, because we've seen Godsmack in concert before.
A few times, yeah.
A couple times. And like, generally it's the same songs over and over and over. In my opinion, it's kind of what you hear on the radio and stuff that is more popular, I would say.
So I'm trying to think. I don't think we've ever seen them
headline
while promoting an album. We've always seen them as a headliner for a festival or close to the top of the bill at a festival.
Yeah.
Putting on a set. So that kind of makes sense.
And festival is different. Like sometimes the set list, if they're on tour, is the same, or like one or two songs different. But a lot of times I feel like at festivals, it's kind of like what I was saying, like the more popular songs, the songs you hear on the radio, that sort of thing. So,
and to also like bring it, not a counter to it or anything, but to like more examples of this. Again, Disturbed to me is that way, where it's like every time you see a Disturbed show, if it's for a new album, you're gonna hear the same fucking
you still
song.
hear the same 12 songs, and then they just sprinkle in 2 or 3
right
from the new album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So their set's very similar to that as well. But I get what you're trying to say with that.
But what I was gonna say with this is there's a lot of songs on here that I'm not familiar with, but I also don't listen to Godsmack very often.
There's their popular ones for sure. Like I said, Voodoo's on there. Bulletproof, I think, was one of them.
Bulletproof, yeah, is at the last song that they played.
Love, Hate, Sex, Pain. Those are like the big ones to me that you're gonna hear.
Yeah. But Sully even said that they were going to go into some more deep cuts and that sort of thing, which I think is where the fan aspect goes in for this intimate night. And I think by the intimate night, it was more, you were going the acoustic route. In my mind, it's more go to smaller venues where you can kind of, you don't have to like fight to get to the front. Like even when we were getting ready to go in, I'm like, well, we have seats, so it's not like we have to rush in.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I think that's where the whole more intimate setting comes in. And then also there was the little sit down and talk about the music and talk about how the night's going and, like all that stuff. So.
And he did bring that up too, the talking about the music. Like people are asking us, are you going to talk about these songs and whatnot? And like, I think he joked and was like, no, we're not going to talk about these songs, but I can't remember.
I don't remember that. I remember at the end he told a guy, like, I'm not going to stop performing to explain how we got the Godsmack logo.
Oh,
I don't remember,
I kind of remember
something
that,
about a song.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm making shit up. Whatever.
Yeah, it's okay. I just don't personally remember that being said.
But there was some talking about the song, some talking about the band a little bit. I do wish there was more of that, honestly. I would have liked more of that backstory, that more interaction. Like, I would have easily cut 3-4 songs and loved to hear more backstory and more, not just from Sully, but the other band members as well.
Yeah.
But
you wanted a Billy Joel night.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking
I feel like
storytellers, like the Meatloaf thing we were watching where he
that's
goes into it.
That'd be kind of fun to go for a band that we like really like and listen.
Like let's talk about this. Let's do a Q&A and then play the song type thing.
Yeah.
But not the Q&A. I don't like Q&As.
Like where people stand up and.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm Karen and I'm at Metal Vice.
I'm a big fan of yours. I'm so happy you guys are here. Thank you so much. And we're gonna plug my shit.
Yeah, you have to plug your own thing.
Yeah, I hate Q&As so much. It's the same fucking questions every time too. It's got to be, right? I don't know.
I don't care for them either.
Anywho, I would have preferred more of that as well. I loved the backstory, like that aspect of it, and I would have liked to have more of that. But whatever, we got some of it, and it was nice. I really enjoyed the bits we did get.
Yeah.
Toward the end, they had all their albums up on the back of the screen.
Oh yeah, although like from beginning 1998 to
2023, 4 years, something like that. They played.
Yeah.
I think you asked, like, did they play a song from every album?
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
But they played 16 tracks with 4 covers.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the set.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised when, at the end, when we came home, I was talking about it, but I thought that they played 3 covers. Looking at this now, it's 4 covers. So I guess I don't know how to count. But I was surprised then, like, after the show, that they plugged in the covers at first, because I'm like, well, they have such a large catalog. Why didn't they pull more from their catalog to perform, especially for this type of show? But then I was thinking about, like, as the words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, oh, but they played the songs that had meaning to them, or that they, like I said, like they grew up listening to or had influence on them to become artists.
And inspired, yeah, exactly. That's one of the reasons I love Metallica's Garage Inc. album so much. It's like, these are the songs that they grew up loving and inspired them, and they're going to cover it in their own unique way.
Yeah.
I love covers a lot. I like that they sprinkled them in where they sprinkled them in. No Quarter was awesome. I was not expecting that. It's fucking Zeppelin. Like, I'm never going to...
How long is that song? Like 13 minutes?
No, it's like 8.
Oh, it seems like it went on forever.
Yeah, 7.
Anyways, it just seemed like it was very, very long. I mean, not that it was bad. It just seemed like it went on for a
It's definitely a slower song, too, which you're not necessarily the biggest fan of.
And lots of guitar.
Yeah, you understand how you're not into that. It's so weird.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm never going to see Zeppelin live. I've accepted that. The only way I'm going to see it is through tribute bands or people covering it. So
when you really look out for tribute bands coming to Chicago?
There's some in Chicago all the time.
There are. I just not performing in Chicago. That's the only thing. They're always out in the suburbs.
Or if they are, we have something else going on. Like Zeppelin 2 was here not long ago, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we just
must
had
have
something
had
else
something going on.
Yeah. But in any case, like whenever anybody breaks out a Zeppelin cover, I'm super fucking stoked and happy for it. All in all, I loved this set. I thought it was a great fucking set.
I thought it was really, really good for the set, and especially to get some deep cuts that I'm not used to. But yeah, it was a fine night.
I mean, we're not the biggest Godsmack fans by any means. Like, I like the music. I'll listen to the music, but I'm not going to go like, holy shit, Godsmack's touring again. Let's go see Godsmack.
Right. If we don't have anything going on, like when this was announced, we will go see it. So, what would you have chosen?
I was going to ask you a similar question, but mainly around like ticket price. Like, do you think this ticket price was first off worth it? And then I'm assuming the answer is no, $89.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think about the ticket price, but no, it's not worth it to me. But if you're a Godsmack fan and you're really into their music, like, and you get a chance to be, super close to the stage, or like even us, we were in the third row of the bleacher type seating, and I felt like we were close enough. I mean,
yeah, I guess I don't remember what the ticket range was because, I mean, you're down that main floor and even close to the stage, that's going to raise your price for sure. If you're definitely a big fan of it, that this definitely is worth it. This really isn't that bad of a ticket price, I don't think, for this kind of show. No, I just
personally wouldn't.
Yeah. I think this is a great price for this type of show. And that's sort of where I was leading of like, does the price influence what you would have chose differently as well? Because
like if all of them were announced at the same time?
Yeah.
Could have, yeah.
And again, like when we did the 420, I said I think I'd still pick Godsmack over those other ones because this is going to be a unique set. Because again, I thought it was going to be that acoustic only set. Given that it was still a very unique experience. Like you said, they were doing deep cuts they don't typically do. There was a lot more acoustic aspects and elements to it that you don't get at a regular Godsmack show. So of the 4, I think that we saw, who was it? It was like the Healing.
Yeah.
That tribal band.
In Milwaukee. Or they were performing in Milwaukee. And then there was Thy
Windrose. Sorry. Go ahead. You're doing it.
No, it's okay. There was Windrose at Avalon Theater here in Chicago. There was Thy Art Is Murder with Signs of the Swarm. And 2 other bands. I don't know who those 2 other bands were. Just Signs of the Swarm was there. So, but they were performing at House of Blues. And then Godsmack performing this in Indiana.
So I mean, before going into this show, I probably would have said it was going to be Godsmack, the Healing or whatever, the tribal band, Windrose, then Thy Art Is Murder. On the way down there, we actually listened. We didn't make a playlist. I should have a 420 playlist or something, but we listened to all those other bands on the way down to Indiana on Spotify instead of listening to Godsmack or anything. But
you don't listen to the band the day of the show.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is tough. It wasn't the show I expected. It definitely wasn't. So it does lower some on my list, but it was still a different, unique experience of seeing Godsmack that I think I still would have picked it. If it was a normal Godsmack show, I would say no. This would probably be third on the list.
Yeah.
But because it was still unique enough than the other times we have seen them, I would probably still go to this one, even with the price in mind and whatnot, because those other shows were probably a little cheaper. The price doesn't, like, again, this is a good price for the show that you got. But no, I don't think it would change for me. I think even before we went to the show, you were sort of like, I would have changed this around.
Yeah, I would have.
Was that still the case then?
Yeah. I probably would have chose Healing or Healung. Sorry, we don't know how to say it, but the tribal band that was in Milwaukee, I probably would have chose that. Mainly because it is more unique than even this. And also, it's on a Saturday in Milwaukee, so it's easy to get up there on the train. And then I would probably do Windrose, then potentially this, but I'd probably choose Thy Art Is Murder over it, and then this.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm only saying not choosing Thy Art Is Murder is I just saw Signs of the Swarm in Ireland, and that's mainly the reason why I would go. Like, I do like some Thy Art Is Murder, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
At the time when Windrose and Diana's Murder were announced, I really had that FOMO, which is why we called it 420 FOMO of like, God damn it. Like now I can't go to this show because we already have tickets for this show. And our premise is if we already have tickets to a show, we're not going to.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably very, very slight few that we would say we're going to Rammstein instead of going to some show at Reggie's or, like something like that. Like we would choose.
That's fair. We haven't done that or had to think about things that way.
Yeah.
But if it's Disturbed and then Rammstein gets announced, I think I'm saying fuck you, Disturbed. I'm going to see Rammstein.
I would too. Yeah.
Like unless it's Metallica and Rammstein.
That would be hard for you.
Or Slipknot. Then it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Fuck. Lamb of God, they're kind of up there a little bit too, but I think I'd still do Rammstein. It's fucking Rammstein. They don't come to the States that often, and their show is fucking insane.
Yeah. I think I would be the same way where I'd be like, it's okay, we'll try to sell these tickets. If not, we could try to give them to somebody or just.
You know what? Even Metallica, I think I'd say, fuck you, Metallica. I'm going to see Rammstein.
You've seen a lot of Metallica.
I've seen a lot of Metallica. I haven't seen a lot of Rammstein.
Yeah, we've only, been to 3 Rammstein shows?
But yeah, only 3. Yeah. Which is a
lot
more than I thought we would have been to.
Yeah.
1. I thought we'd do 1 in our lifetime, and that's it.
Yeah, I remember being in Grinnell, Iowa, and they announced that they were coming to Chicago, and we were trying to pool between like 5 of us friends.
A lot of friends, yeah.
Like, it was going to be all of us get in my car, which was a Kia Spectra, very small car, and drive here, and then like basically drive home overnight.
Yep.
And that's how we were going to afford it. And then we all were just like, that's a stupid idea. Like, we can't afford this.
Yeah. Gas money at the time and just everything. I remember that.
And tickets, I mean, just ticket prices, everything was just, no.
But you were trying to make a point. What was your point?
Yeah,
but that's not how we do it.
We don't. Typically, we don't say like, oh, this was announced. So what I was saying is like, I got really disappointed that the other shows were announced, especially Windrose, because that's a band that I also want to see really, really bad. But I just got very disappointed of like, oh, I want to go see this, but I can't because we already bought these tickets back in November, and the other bands are announcing in the spring. So.
And again, this show was so different and unique. Not so different and unique.
No,
but
I don't think it was that much different.
It was. I don't know. I think it was.
I feel like they set it up almost like a Disturbed show.
Okay.
Where it's like kind of their heavier stuff at the beginning. They kind of do a lull of doing the acoustic parts, and then they go back to some heavy stuff, and then they end with like a sad song and then a heavier song.
I got you.
And then they did the cover, but I don't know. I just felt like maybe that's just how all the bands in that genre do it.
It's a very similar structure to sets. I mean, you can even say that with Metallica a little bit, right? That they kind of follow. They always open heavy, and then you do have that middle bit that's a little bit of a lull, and then you play your key song at the end, right?
Your Master of Puppets.
Yeah, exactly. Or your Enter Sandman.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's either Master of Puppets or Enter Sandman.
Well, the 2 nights now that they're doing, they're closing one night with the other, which is the 40th is a really awesome one. It's like the way they structured their setup. We're going chronologically up, chronologically down.
Yep.
That's like, all right, so you're not going to end on Master. That's awesome. Now you have to choose something else.
Right.
From your latest album, which I think was it was fuck, I should know this. Hardwired at the time because 4072 did not come out yet.
Yeah. 4072.
4072. Yep, that's the album. 4072. Any case, we
went off on another tangent.
We always fucking do. We need to get better at that. Anywho, great time, great set. I had a lot of fun at this show.
I had a lot of fun at the show too.
I'm glad we went, and we I think we both went in and was like, we're not super fucking invested. We're just here to enjoy the show, and like whatever happens, happens. There are times where we go to again, Metallica, Slipknot, Lamb of God type shows, right? Where it's like, all right, I want to hear these songs.
Yeah.
These are the songs I need to hear. This was like, I know Godsmack songs, but I'm not super fucking invested. I'm a fan, not a super, 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 super fan by any means.
Yeah. What's that one song that they always do? Like 1,000 horse?
Voodoo. Voodoo's that one song.
I think it's like 1,000 horsepower.
10,000 horsepower.
That's I guess Voodoo obviously is the one song, and then 10,000 horsepower are the 2 songs that I always think of. Bulletproof, once it came on, I was like, oh shit, yeah, like this is always on the radio. Anyway, yeah.
There is one more that's always on the radio that
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the other one is as well.
I know it as soon as I hear it, but I can't think of the name. I know what album's on too. I Stand Alone.
Oh, yeah. They didn't play that, right?
They did not play that.
Yeah, that's the other one. That's always on the fucking radio. Like, if you hear Godsmack, I feel like on Laser, at least, it's always I Stand Alone.
I Stand Alone, Awake is always on there as well.
Yeah.
There's a good number of Godsmack songs on the radio, which, again, not bad. I like it. I just want more variety in what you play for metal.
The songs on the radio are all have the same cadence or the same sound. Yeah. So, yeah. Any hoodles. Yeah. Another tangent.
We were trying to wrap up and went into a tangent like 4 times now. Go see live music. It's awesome. There's multiple shows. You can't hit them all. So pick one, and no matter what you pick, you're going to pick the right answer because you're going to fucking be at live music. So go out and see some live music.